Hello, welcome back to On the Bench. Today we're on the workbench desk. This is a little desk off to the side of my bench, but I'm here to show you the part 4 of the Franklin build, and this is the part where I show off how it looks when it's done. This is a completed model, folks. Once again, as a recap, this is a 1/350th scale starship carrier from my Star Strikers novel. And in the story, it is a Calundrian starship, uh, and it gets destroyed by the bad guys, the Votanians, right before our heroes get to it. So this is going to be a cover model on the new Star Strikers novel. And so it's based on a sketch by my late good friend Jason Harrington. He drew the sketch in the 1980s. I thought it could use an updating, but otherwise it was a pretty cool design. So this is my take on his sketch. The last time we talked, I had not weathered it yet, and so this is post weathering. Basically, all I did was two things. I did a black acrylic wash, which makes all the details pop. And then I took artist pastels and introduced little bits of rust and little bits of lightning on some of the panels, lighting like lightning in the color, so using it like a white pastel. And the way I do the pastels is I simply take an X-Acto knife over the pastel chalk onto a paper towel, make a pile of pastel dust, and then I take a fluffy brush, dunk it in it, and just apply to the model as needed. When it's done, it's a good idea to put another sealant coat over it. I have not done that on this one yet. Because I don't take these models anywhere and show them off, and they don't have to travel, they just sit on my shelf when I'm done with them. A lot of times I don't do that, but you should as a safety precaution so that the weathering doesn't change. This is pretty heavily washed, and another thing I did as part of weathering is I took a hobby grinder to it. It's this Dremel tool, and I found that if you just bounce the Dremel tool off of it randomly, you can create little nicks and chips that look like battle damage or whatnot. So that's how I do that. But this is what, and the only other things I added to the model was some little antennas poking off to the sides and the top. I don't know how well that's going to come off, so I encourage you to go to the website and look at the pictures when I get them posted, close-up pictures of the model. But this is it. She's basically done. I scratch built this nice little antenna on the front, which I thought was pretty fun, pretty cool looking. It has some aircraft or starfighters on the deck, but once again, I only have a couple, three of them made, so that's all we're gonna get. But it's hard to see them anyway, and I just kind of did it more for my own purposes than anything else, because I really don't think, I think they're gonna be too small in the picture for anybody to notice, but you never know. The antenna on the back is complete and all mucked up with the wash, which, like I said, it's a heavy wash because this is an older starship. This is not the most current design. In fact, this is a few generations behind what the heroes use. But Calundria, the planet that this orbits and was defending, is we would describe it as maybe a third world country, third world planet. Okay, don't have a lot of money, don't have a lot of resources, so they basically buy older ships and maintain them and use them during the war. So you get an old ship like this, maybe, it may be 100 years old, but it's still in use. So anyway, that's it. That is. I'm gonna do kind of a slow tally around. You can see the front of it. Once again, this side of it was never really detailed at all. Um, I'll move it around this way so you can see the engines a little bit. Didn't really do much back here at all except for the wash. Um, and some people may look at this and say, well, the weathering's really cool, but there's no color. It's just pretty boring. And that's true. It is a warship, and nobody gives a hoot about vivid paint schemes when you're at war, unless you're trying to deceive somebody. And this country that, or this planet that has this, um, knows that their stuff is outdated, but they still got to use it, and you know, just maintain it, and hopefully it doesn't get destroyed. This one does get destroyed in the book, but this is pre that. So anyway, a lot of panels are missing, a lot of details are exposed everywhere that's indicated, you know, an older starship that's been worked on, etc. um, so anyway, that's the Franklin. I am done. um, I put a poll on the YouTube channel, and no one really responded to it. So I picked the next chip that I'm going to build, and it will be the Votanian Interceptor. And I've already started working on that, and I hope to have a video of it up in the following week, showing you how, how it looks in the insides. But it's coming together quickly, and it's a simpler design. It's a 1/72 scale, and my goal for building that one next is it's quick, it's easy, and it's also going to be used on the cover, the Star Strikers relaunch cover, exactly like this one is. It'll actually be attacking this ship. So that'll be cool. The other reason for not putting a lot of decals, or names of ships and things on the models, is because that's something that we do in post. When my brother Byron works on the cover, he works in Photoshop, and of course Photoshop uses layers, and he can layer on, you know, anything from more battle damage to just minor ship names and numbers, and he can even add camouflage to things if he wants. I mean, he can get crazy with it. um, for this one, he's probably not going to do a whole lot to it. He'll probably put the name on the side of it, um, and I could do that myself, but it's, as a rule, I don't do that. These models come off very plain looking because, once again, we want a blank canvas for him so that he can use the same model. For instance, the Botanian Interceptor model that I'm building, they fly in flights of 3. So there will be 3 distinctive models in the shot, where they're attacking, coming on the ship. And each one has a different number. Each one may have a different color. It may have its own insignia on the side. So for me to put that on the model makes things harder for him. If he has a clean slate model, then he can, overlay a layer of whatever he wants. And that's part of the art that he does. So some people are kind of disappointed when they see a model like a Starfighter model that I've done. It's like, well, how come there's no markings on it? And, how do you tell them apart and things like that? And well, if you look at the cover of, say, Devon's Blade, there's 3 or 4 Starfighters on that cover, and they each have different numbers. They each have unit insignia on them. And if you look close enough, they're just a little bit different. They have different wear markings and stuff, and that's all Photoshop magic that Byron does. But I have to give him a plain model for, ordinary, no markings model. So anyway, a little bit behind the scenes there of how things go. And this is a short episode today because voila, it's done. One interesting fact is I detailed the bottom of this model and did not wash it with make it look weathered or anything to it. So I kind of kicking myself for even bothering to detail it, because you'll never see it. You may see some of the bumps and stuff on the bottom and some of those little bits that show up here, but once again, just build what is going to be seen. So anyway, it's a pretty cool looking model as is. I mean, this would be, fun to display at somebody's desk or on a shelf, but basically it's done. The next thing that will happen with this model is I'll photograph it, um, and get the high res pictures of the angle that I want. So it'll go on the C stand. I usually put up a black felt uh, tarp behind the model, and I do it literally in my front driveway. My house faces southeast, so it's a lot of great sunlight in the summer and spring. Anytime there's not a weather front moving through, there's a lot of great sunlight. So I use the sun as my key light and shoot all the pictures that way. Um, it gets a little tricky sometimes if you're doing a formation of ships. Each ship has to be shot separately so that it has different shadows on it, etc. But a big ship like this, man, you just cock it at the right angle to the camera and start taking a bunch of pictures. I try to get a smallest exposure, expose as much of the model as possible. You don't want to get too close or too far away. Well, too far away is not a problem, but too close to where one side of the model's in focus and the other side's not. That's a mark of an amateur photographer there. You want your depth of field to show everything in focus as if it was somebody standing there with a camera and taking a picture of a great big starship. So, little things like that. But until that time, it's going to go up on my shelf along with all the other models and probably collect dust until the spring when I actually take pictures of it. And then I have to take it out and dust it off and get it ready for shooting. Make sure any big parts that have, sometimes these little kit parts will fall off or get knocked off from handling. So you spend some time prettying it up and before you shoot it, and then shoot it. And those pictures, those high res pictures, get sent to my brother, and he incorporates them into his Photoshop work. And one of these days, I'm going to do a video of him, or maybe an interview with him, and have him explain some of the things that he does, because it's pretty cool. It's stuff I don't know anything about Photoshop, and I use Linux, and the only program I know how to use is the GIMP, and the GIMP isn't not as professional. It can do a lot of these things, but I don't think to the degree that Photoshop can. So I let him do it. He's a graphic artist. He does a great job. Anyway, I think that's it. So thanks for watching. This was turned out to be a 4-episode build because we came in late to it. It was already pretty much constructed when I first started. Now it's complete, so it's done off the bench. And next week, like I say, we'll be working on the Votanian Interceptor, and we'll start a whole new series. So I hope to see you then. In the meantime, take care.